Derek O'Brien. Let's bring him back in later from the Indian opposition group, the All India Trinamool Congress, and a member of Parliament. Derek, thanks so much for hanging there with us with all these technical issues. Has talked about a little bit more about, despite all the struggles in the economy, inflation, and where things are at right now, the opinion polls still favor the Prime Minister Modi here. Why do you think he hasn't paid that political price? Has the opposition failed?
No, I don't think the opposition has failed. I think we've still got 20 months to go for the elections. In an eastern state of Bihar, Modi's BJP met with a setback. But on the larger economic, on the larger economic front, let me tell you, 1 out of 4 Indian youth are unemployed. Now that's a big number. If you look at the GDP numbers from 2016, they are headed southwards. If you look at the way the Indian rupee is doing against the dollar, it's 34% down in the last 5 years. If you look, and you know, actually Indian inflation is at about 7%. US inflation is close to 9%. So actually, in these times, the rupee should be getting stronger against the dollar. That's not happening. And we're looking at some IMF numbers. Where in the last 2 years, India grew at under 3%. And other low-income countries are growing at 3.1, 3.2%. So things are not good economically. Youth are unemployed, and the pressure is on.
Yeah.
And I do think in the medium run, Modi won't have the answers. Now it's a whole lot of promises and hope being sold. The media also here has been strangulated by this government. Institutions are in trouble. So I think we have match on in 2024 when the general elections come up in India.
And Derek, yeah, I mean, opposition parties like yourself have raised these issues before. They've staged protests in cities and towns. Why do you think that the opposition still is struggling to gain trust from the public? And do you think that, you know, what can you do still to now do something meaningful to really corner the Modi government?
I don't think it's a question of gaining trust. I think, it's about packaging. I think where the opposition in India needs to get its act together is we need to package the kind of package better. Modi is very, very good at packaging, and the product itself is weak. Here's a prime minister who announced demonetization at 2 hours' notice, and he said black money will disappear, and corruption will disappear, and terrorism will disappear. None of that has happened. Here is a prime minister who said he will triple farmer income, double farmer income by 2022. Where in 2022 it hasn't happened. Here's a prime minister who said he'll deliver the bullet train by 2022. It won't happen till 2030. So there's so many unkept promises. Here's a prime minister who said every Indian would have a home, would have a home by 2022. It hasn't happened. So now I think the bigger picture here, beyond the economics, the politics. In 2014, when Modi came to power, they sold hope. In 2019, when he was voted back to power, the selling was, we get a lot of things done. The dreams, the hopes have been belied. The dreams have turned into nightmares. So I really think in India, don't look at, it's too early to look for opinion polls, but 2024, Modi can be voted out.
So what is the strategy really? Can you point down to the strategy that will allow the opposition to win in 2024?
That's a very good question. And I hope so many television channels operating out of Delhi actually ask the tough questions to Modi. But let me answer your question. It's a good one. I don't think there's going to be one person who will be somebody A or B taking on Modi. In the federal system in India, we're looking at strong leaders in different states taking him on. For example, in Bengal, where India's only woman chief minister, a 3-time chief minister, Mamata Banerjee of the Trinamool. So she will take on Modi in Bengal. There will be others taking him on in different states. In Tamil Nadu, there will be one person, a strong leader there. In Telangana, so once we have these different strong leaders in the states take on Modi, then in 2024, the national election actually becomes an aggregate of state elections. So that's the strategy. The messaging also is interesting. There are two big messages. One is that Modi hasn't delivered on his promises made in 2014, and two, democracy and institutions in India are being weakened. So of these two, the broader reach is for the message of unkept promises. And the more, if I may use the term, the more esoteric one, but it's still very important, is how the democracy in India is being undermined. So this is the two-pronged messaging which has to go out. And as I said, the key is to take strong leaders from different states to take Modi on. Because once you make it a Modi versus Mr. A battle, then it will be advantage Modi.
Derek, India is slipping on key markers like press freedom, like global hunger index. I mean, how concerned are you about that? And how does the opposition plan to address these issues?
Well, that's very, very sad what is happening in India today. And it's not my brief to come out on one of the international channels, people sitting in Singapore and Hong Kong, and me saying these negative things about my country, but that's the reality. The media is virtually in full control of the minorities, are in trouble. The media is not doing its job, and it's very, even opposition MPs, whenever we opposition parties speak up, they put the income tax after you and the enforcement directorate after you. So they're harassing opposition. You know, all this is happening. But I still see hope, because I still see hope. And for the first time in Parliament, I think I've seen Modi on the defensive. I really think the media has a big role to play. I think it's a tough job. But I'll say this again: you don't end up giving jobs to young people. You don't end up improving the economy. You're going to get into trouble, Derek, sooner or later.
I was going to ask you, there's a hot debate going on in India about the culture of freebies. As we see neighbors like Pakistan, Sri Lanka going through their economic crises. Which way do you think India should go on this?
You see, I mean, this is quite absurd. You know, the father of all freebies is Mr. Modi. I mean, you look at the billions of dollars which even the developed countries like the United States or the Germans give away as freebies. So I think this is not the freebie. You know, I mean, firstly, I think it's the wrong. I think it's the wrong word which is being used. Right. I don't know what Modi is talking about when he says stop doing freebies. I mean, you know, you talk about subsidy. The thing is, when you write off bank loans to corporates, that's the time you call it incentive. And when you actually pass on benefits to the poor, you call it a freebie. No, that's not the way to go.
Derek, thank you. Derek O'Brien, a prominent leader of the opposition Trinamool Congress Party.